I'm going to make a quick deviation from what I said as far as not doing any more of the Gospel of Thomas. And also, I'm going to just set aside the Hero's Journey video for a little bit and go back to this. Somebody was asking me more questions about this, and I realize that I guess I still need to clear some things up somehow. I'm not sure if I'm evolving my understanding, and I think it's just easier to maybe make a video on this. Anyway, let me let you know, if you haven't seen my work or know what this is about, you're not going to hear anything here like you've heard anywhere else. This is very personal. It's very psychological. There's something that I find nested in here if you use a certain procedure where the verses play out inside of the component parts of your psyche, where it unlocks something that allows you to heal your life. This is a theory. I'm not saying that this is what the verses are for and that this is what that everything else is wrong. I will not say that. I will say that this is theory, that I will show you how that process works. Anybody could do it. It is demonstrable. And if you employ it, you can interact with it and change your life. That's what's there. That's what I see at the level that I get. Other people can teach you other things that I don't go supernatural. I go with things that I can see, things that are effective. At the end of the day, what emerges is kind of pretty clinical, but also I very comfortably, incredibly comfortably, have found a way to walk the line between spirituality and science, I guess, the mind. My name is Dan Paulson, and welcome to my channel, Just One Truth. Just One Truth is about that. This teaching that I'm about to reveal started in Sumer and Mesopotamia, and it flows into everything from the Hermetica to the tablets of Thoth to Buddhism, Hinduism. It's everywhere. Just let's take a look at this, and I'm going to show you that the Gospel of Thomas is a collection of verses that are meant to help you internally heal. It may carry other things as well that I don't see, but somebody else does, but I will show you what I do see. Let's take a look. I think one of the most common questions I get based on what I say is, what do you mean the Gospel of Thomas isn't Gnostic? Honestly, pretty much the whole world believes that it's Gnostic. There are scholars who believe that, yeah, if you look at all of the material, it doesn't reference anything that comes from Gnostic material. It was found with Gnostic works. Yes, the Gnostics claimed it. It was a part of the package. They also had works from Plato in there. So we can call it Gnostic. This is why I say what I do. And it goes back to the idea of that original teaching, that they're from Sumer, Mesopotamia, the earliest creation stories. If you use the same process that I use here, those are big stories that nest this same teaching. They're in a vehicle, however, that is not as interactive as, say, a religion. It's in a different kind of a carrying case, but there's something in there that teaches you to self-heal. It is not as complete as later versions. This continues to evolve. But this teaching right here is this inner-looking teaching. That's the core right there, the inner path. That is the core in everything, and it originated there. It began to show up in simple things like Taoism and Buddhism. And it's only simple if you do this. Those are complex, but all of the verbiage seems to be in such a way that it's designed to work with the population, the general population. People are introverts and extroverts, and most people look outward and fewer people look inward. I'm an INFP, so I'm one of those inward looking, just leave me alone, give me my space kind of people. And but the verses, if you turn them inward, like the introvert can turn inward, it goes straight at healing. If you use the verse and look outward, if you get into something more complex, I'll just grab a couple of quick examples. If you get into like Hinduism, and they're teaching at some level about meditation and about trying to cleanse the third eye. This is a part of a carrying case that is referencing going inside and removing all of the stuff that's impeding the flow of whatever, your life. It's affecting the way you flow in life. You can go straight to the source, turn it inward and do that. Or if you're not going to do that, you might say, I'm going to hang, I like this. I go meditate, I go do the things I do. There's a good fellowship there. This is helping the extroverts heal, but it's not as direct. And it has to be worded in such a way, and the people have to be of a mindset such that they're actually following the teaching, the outward teaching that is carrying this inward teaching. Thousands of years later, where does it show up? It continues to show up, but it is the Greek Gospel of Thomas, the Sermon on the Mount, Sermon on the Plain. All of those are the same self-healing teaching. It didn't originate here. The only thing that did originate with the Gospel of Thomas right there was the name Jesus and the shift in analogs. They're using different components from their culture at that time to carry this teaching, things that belong in their world. You need to spread this around. It's got to get to the people. So these are very artfully structured in all actuality. If you get on the inside, you go, there's a network here. You look on the outside and you see a bunch of conflict. On the inside, that goes away. I can only tell you that you have to get there. You'll see it. It's a, oh, wow, moment anyway. So what happens then? The material is there and people go, let's expand this out. We've got, this is so compacted that people aren't going to carry this very much. Let's build it up into something. So we start building the outward versions of what this teaching is. And what emerges is Gnosticism and Christianity. Those are still structured to carry this teaching, but it's just another degree of complexity with more layers in it. It's the longer path, and with a lot of outward looking things that will keep the extrovert happy looking for their entire lives. And that's why I say what I say. I guess it is Gnostic, but it's those are just labels. At some point in time, there's one thing that is nested in here. And anyway, that's what I want to say. That's why I'm not interested in Gnosticism. There's some good things in there. It'll get you to the same places. I can't remember the god. Spread apart, and pieces need to come back together. Spread out in the population. There are fewer people that are going to do this that aren't. The Christian variant of that Jesus teaching is many are called and few are chosen. In fact, all of the material later on, not the earliest stuff, but it eventually kind of becomes evident that not very many people are selected to go on this, but it's not a selection process. I am still pattern seeking, pattern. Yeah, there aren't very many people that do this. Why? What is it? Why does it look like there's a selection process? And after enough pattern recognition, you go, introverts, hurt introverts that have time to figure this out, that get lucky. That's why it looks chosen. It's not. It's just a part of the normal population that's continually underway, that are continually experience the same sort of life experiences. We're all on the planet. We're all in this. Yeah. I do want to say that I honestly find that I'm reluctant to say what I just said. I hold back on that because I think a lot of people hold on to things, and you don't want to say stuff that shatters their interest, and I don't want to do that. But this is something that I don't know anybody else that is seeing what I'm seeing. I'm sure it's all over. Yeah, people know this. I don't know anybody who's putting it out into the general public. I don't know anybody else who's doing it, and I don't know how sometimes to proceed. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I don't want to hold anything back. But however, due to the nature of the genre of the Abrahamic descended material, a lot of that outward looking verbiage, I will avoid it like the plague, actually, because of people that don't interpret it still come up with this idea that, oh yeah, this is for us. We're on board. We're better. We're special over all you people. It allows for people to grab onto that, and it becomes very ensconced in who and what they are. When you're looking at them, holding themselves above other people, and you realize that's not what's going on. At the level where we're doing this here, you don't lead people. You don't. Nobody gets led on this path. You get tools, you do it on, it's an inner path, you go on your own. This is to empower people as opposed to lead people. However, most people need to be in the other group. That's just reality. If you're a seeker, you don't care what other people say. You just go, let me look for myself. I don't need somebody to tell me. I want to know. I want to interact with it. That's going to be a smaller part of the population. Honestly, the way I see civilization right now, and the way it is, we evolved as, we were very tribal. Then we developed to the point that we have the technology and the language and things that we have today, but we haven't evolved beyond being very tribal. We're acting tribal in this, like we must have done when we were evolving. However, we're just using religion as kind of the excuse to hold our groups. We're still separate from each other. That humanity doesn't like coming together. They're very tribal. There are links, but somehow humanity stays tribal, and that's what happens with those parts of the religion. You see that it somehow engages that part of humanity. We would have evolved in ways, however, that there's a large group that's the biggest group. This is what the engine, the food, resources, everything, people working together, reproduction, massive group. But you don't just put a group like that and have predators around. You have to have guards. You got to have leadership. There's going to emerge a natural kind of mechanism to help this group best survive. And see how messed up is this to say? If you're here now, you're one of those people that was on the outside of the group, keeping an eye on things. You can't stand it in the middle. You're keeping a bigger overview of things. That's where we are. You're that person. If you don't like the sounds of this, this is not your material. What is going to emerge is self-healing, psychology, self-imposed psychology to the nth degree. Nothing more. But it's not fun. It will change your life. Let me just jump to where they're getting to. There's a lot of things they didn't understand at their time that we know today, and we have to bring all that online as we go do these. First of all, I'll be drawing a little bit from the works of Carl Jung, if you know him, and the idea that his realization, and previous to him, other people knew this as well, that there is a collective psyche that is in humanity, that we have a conscious and we have a subconscious, but that we are also part of a bigger field that we are all a part of. And the interface with that is kind of light. We know what that field is. If we're worshiping or have games, we can feel some sort of emotion that you can't get on your own. Or maybe you have gut feelings or instinctive feelings, or sometimes you have a premonition, or maybe somebody and you say something that's very obscure, same thing, same time, or somebody says something, you're like, wow, that doesn't happen often, but we all see that a little bit. We all know that that's there. I would think that thousands of years ago, when they had much simpler lives and more time, that they probably would have observed that more and it would have looked magic. But I think it's natural. I think it's normal. I think that's the way humans interact with each other, and that is what is going on, but it looks and feels like something is outside of there because we're getting those sensations into our brain from like our central nervous system and from around us, not through our 5 physical senses. So it looks like, oh, where is that magical place from? I think we just are not quite aware of it. So very specifically and observable by pretty much everybody is the conscious, the subconscious, and that unified field. Those 3 parts are going to be in this teaching. So that needs to be up front. That is how we function to become who and what we are. and how we live our life, how it unfolds, and how we're going to interact with these verses to change who and what we are, to change our flow in that field. And this teaching will emerge everywhere. If you're familiar with Taoism and the flow, the Tao, Buddhism, finding nirvana, having a happy life, Jesus looking forward, the kingdom of heaven within, to live in the graces of God. These are all analogous commentary that get us to the same place. We're looking for a mental space, okay? That's what we're looking for. The words carry a mental space. That's what we're looking for. That's how we decode these. And once we do that, we will all be doing it the same way. There won't be any need to have somebody do this for you. You will see that there is a mechanical process that they're using to do this. And as we move along, that'll become evident. The reason I say it'll be viewable is that it is a repetitive structure. It fits into the category of the hero's journey, but it's a more scaled down version. This is not the hero's journey, but this turns inward from the hero's journey and becomes the spiritual seeking path. And that these steps are continuously in all of the work, simply carried in different analogous terms. So once you observe that structure, then you begin to see that it is a repetitive process, that it is a structured process. All right, another part, whenever they're talking about the components of what we have to resolve anytime there's a mind or a soul or spirit, something like that, we have to interact with something that we can interact with. And it's going to come down to this: the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and that unified field. And maybe something beyond that, the cosmos, the greater universe at large, but we don't really have much to do out there. So we'll stick locally. What we're doing is experiencing horrible lives, and we want to change. We want a better life. That's for us. This is something that is done today. It's done in modernity. People go to psychologists and talk through their issues. They didn't have psychologists back then, but they had this process and they were just doing it themselves. I'm not a psychologist, and I know that this stuff can be difficult. I myself in my life have had to go through this material in a serious way. I came from a home of abuse and suicide, and my own thoughts of suicide at times in life. And it is about that, because people always do this to each other. And we hurt and we're trying to heal and we're not figuring it out. Okay, that's what's going to emerge in this material. If it sounds okay to you, we'll move along. I will continue to just unfold things as we go. And if it doesn't sound okay to you, don't do this if it's not okay. Back then, that's what they had to do. This is what they had to do. I'm going to be using the Marvin Meyer version. These are the hidden sayings that the living Jesus spoke and Judas Thomas, the twin, recorded. Hidden sayings, they're secret. Living Jesus, who cares? It's about the body of work. And Judas Thomas, the twin, recorded. We don't know who recorded this. Judas Thomas, the twin, if anything, might in the spiritual realm mean somebody that was a spiritual twin, somebody comparable, somebody that knew this knowledge. Here's a hidden saying, but it came from Jesus. That's kind of a hook. A spiritual seeker would say, I don't even care about that. What's the verse? Let me start decoding it. This first part is for the people that aren't going to get it. They're going to hang on to it. Ooh, hidden sayings. Living Jesus, yeah. Judas Thomas, the twin. There's mystery there. Boom, this is going. Who cares? Okay, first verse. And he said, whoever discovers the interpretations of these sayings will not taste death. We know we're not going supernatural in this interpretation, and if it plays out in the psyche, then what we're talking about is the death of ourselves. We know those terms. Death, rebirth. We're born, we grow up, we have horrible lives, we hate ourselves, we hate things, things suck. We're trying to change that. We want a rebirth. If you learn these sayings, you will not have death. That's spiritual death, not physical death. I edited this in later. Even that didn't sound right. It isn't about, there are no promises in here that there is any spiritual life beyond the physical death. It's not that. It's about the death of your prior self, the being that has become you that you want to somehow leave behind. It is a rebirth from that. That is specifically what this is alluding to. Again, I'm being very clinical, I think, as much as I can in this, but I want you to know that I want to live forever. Everybody does. There's a survival instinct in all of us. I think that people who have a conviction that they've got a place, they don't look very much. People who believe that that's the end of it, don't even worry. They're living in the here and the now. I'm kind of stuck in that realm of, oh God, I don't believe there is anything, but maybe there is. I don't know. I want to keep looking. So, for sure, I'm driven to look for life, afterlife. And I'm just going to be honest about what I find. You cannot have flexibility. And once you do allow supernatural invocation to come in, the flexibility of interpretation suddenly becomes rampant. So it keeps it dialed in when you just say it's all about the physical life here and now. But I also realize that that is not okay for a lot of people because they have very hurt lives and because they are not going to be able to do this and they want to hold on to something that gives them comfort. That's in place too. Jesus said, "Let one who seeks not stop seeking until one finds. When one finds, one will be troubled. When one is troubled, one will marvel and will reign over the all." You're seeking inside? You seek until you find. If you're seeking, you do so without a preconceived idea of what you're looking for. A seeking mind says, I don't know what's there. I'm going to go look. And when people say things and say, oh, this is what it is, and they can maybe explain it to you, but they can't show it to you, the seeker is going to go, okay, thanks, and then move on. You need something solid. That oogity boogity stuff doesn't work in everybody's head. When you find, one is troubled and one will marvel. If you seek this material and you find what is in there, you're going to go, oh crap, yeah, that's it. I wanted eternal life too. Yeah, I want my brother back. There are things that I want out of here that I don't find. I'm not going to bullshit. That's what's here. And then you will reign over the all. You're going to reign over your own life. You reign over not people. Nobody reigns over all of anything. That's kind of crazy. These verses won't work if you try to play them out in the real world. You look at them and go, that's goofy. It doesn't work. Play it out up here. Make these parts, these component parts. You reign over the all of yourself, the all of your experience, the all of your world. That is how it works. Jesus said, if your leaders say to you, look, the kingdom is in heaven, then the birds of heaven will precede you. If they say to you, it is in the sea, then the fish will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is inside you and it is outside of you. So it sounds like he's telling everybody that thinks God is up in sky is wrong, or if you're like thinking God is somewhere on earth, you're wrong, that all of it is not, that this kingdom is here now. You're existing in the place where you need to function right now. This is it. It's inside you, it's outside you. When you know yourselves, then you will be known, and you will understand that you are the children of the living Father. Okay, super simple. Sometimes people might find it scary. When you know yourself, then you will be known, and you will understand that you are children of the living Father. The living Father is your consciousness, and what you are is the children, the offspring of the decisions of that living Father. When you understand yourself, you will know that you are a product of the way that you have thought and judged life. But if you do not know yourselves, then you dwell in poverty, and you are that poverty. Yeah, you got to know yourselves, but what does that mean? We'll get there. We do need to know ourselves. Jesus said the person old in days will not hesitate to ask a little child 7 days old about the place of life, and that person will live. For many of the first will be last, and will become a single one. There's a couple of things going on in here probably that I don't know if the 7 days old part, there's a lot of numbering in here, 3, 7, 12, at that region in Jewish and Christian literature, 40. There are numbers that are used so repetitively that they're being used as analogs for something in Jewish lore. And those analogs, you'll find them elsewhere in the region being used, but they will use them for different things. Moses, 40 years in the desert. Jesus, 40 days in the desert. Rain, 40 days, 40 nights. I am not 100% committed to this, but that looks to me like the time frame it takes to get enlightenment from the time you escape or The time you go in and the time you start cleaning house, the time you start washing away what is there. You're having an internal flood or something like that, or you're going into a desert or to some place to clear out what is there. The 40 is indicative of that. Jason and the Argonauts, Greek myth from the same region and about the same time, about contemporaneous, had sailed with 40 Argonauts, but the Greeks were using those as gods or as characteristics. If you play those out, those become fun characteristics of who and what we are. Each of those 40 sailors on that boat with Jason on that adventure played out in his mind. So that is what they're using it there. However, if you go over to Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, what they're using is a husband and a wife, the conscious and the subconscious, have got 40 thieves have come into their home, and she is the subconscious and is holding those, and she resolves them and gets rid of them. They're using it too, but they're using it for 40 bad things. So you can see that they're shit. It's like they're, oh yeah, I'll get you back with my analog. Oh, there's your gods. I'll get you with my thieves. It almost looks funny like that. I'm not sure if that's what's happening, but it looks that way. I know that 7, like 40, is being used in an analog, but I have not looked at it enough to see what the patterns are. And I won't look these up online to see what somebody says they are, because I think that they're just copying each other anyway. They don't know. How do they know? You just go look at the patterns. Keep looking at a region and see what are they using this. When this number pops up, what does it correlate with? All the time it's happening. It's going to be analogous to some kind of an event that's happening if they're using it. And the pattern will emerge. I just don't have time. There's too many parts to this. Anyway, so for now, what I want to say is that 7 I know means something, but I don't know what it means. But I know I can go to the end of this verse and take a look at what number 1 means. Is the idea that when we're born, we're good, you're kind of ready to go, you can become anything. However, depending on your life, your situation, your lineage, the chain you are in society, you're going to emerge as a person based on the experiences that you accumulate along the way and the emotional state that you put with them. And if they're little and benign, they're easy to take care of. When they're long-term, being abused routinely, being hurt, being just, maybe not physically, just being told, yeah, you're stupid, degraded, belittled, demeaned. We grow up thinking all kinds of horrible things about ourselves. And everything that we're experiencing in life is a product of this up here. And we want to become single one. We want to, what we're going to look to do is to try to strip off all of that stuff. What do we have going on the first page? Spiritual rebirth. If you go through this, keep seeking until you find it. It'll surprise you. Heaven is here right now. This is the place. You got to know yourself, and you got to become number one. You got to become one. You cannot become a divided person. You have become divided. We need to become one again. Boom, page 1 right there. Move on to 5. Jesus said, "Know what is in front of your face, and what is hidden from you will be disclosed to you. For there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed. As within, so without." Look at your life. What happens? What emerges? What is something that keeps happening that you keep getting triggered over, or something that did? Look at it. It's coming from someplace. It's coming from a place that is hidden if you're not dealing with it, but it's emerging. Look that it's emerging and go, oh, I'm holding something hidden. Follow it back in. Pay attention to what you're doing in life and use those moments to go, this is how I heal. I don't see how to fix myself until I see what's broke. See what's broke, fix it. The next verse is a little bit of a jumble. There is, verse 6, there are some questions asked that become very specifically answered at 14. So it looks like there's just maybe some sort of a scribal error or a page sequence, something right there. And I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to go from verse 6, where I read the questions, and then I'm going to jump to verse 14, answer them, and then we will interpret them. His disciples asked him and said to him, "Do you want us to fast? How should we pray? Should we give to charity? What diet should we observe?" That's a crazy group of questions right there. They go together. There's a sequence. There's a sequence. Always watch for the patterns. 14, Jesus said to them, "If you fast, you will bring sin upon yourselves. If you pray, you will be condemned. And if you give to charity, you will harm your spirits." Physical world, fasting is not eating. Spiritual world, fasting is quiet mind. pray. Physical world praying is focused on invoking God about something, graces somehow. Spiritual world, you're focused on something that you want. You've got a single mind about something. So we have the idea here of you have a quiet mind or a mind that's focused on one thing. And if you give to charity, you will harm your spirits. Charity giving. Okay. If you fast, what are we doing? We're trying to heal. We're trying to heal. So when you're fasting, you are fasting and looking for the things inside of you that you don't want to deal with. Those are the things that you're going to be looking at. I do want to say that one does sound a little bit weird to me. Fasting, I think in this case it means you're not taking things in from outside, that you're turning inside, and you have to shut off the outside world in order to look inward at what you have to look at. And I believe that's what they're doing as far as using fasting here. And I'm going to offer that up as I'm not as 100% confident with that, except that is demonstrable, is that we do know that if we want to deal with things inside of us, that we have to look at them. If you fast, you will bring sin upon yourselves. That is how, that's not finding sin out in the world and bringing it upon yourselves. You're doing this inside. When you're fasting, you're meditating, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to go start pondering those things that I don't want to think about. That molestation or that shameful, hurtful something somehow. You're going to start looking at this stuff. You're not bringing that sin upon yourselves. What you're doing is emerging the sin so that you can see it. And if you pray, you will be condemned. Praying is looking to heal with it. You can be condemned to death or life. Condemned just means it's going to happen. If you pray, it'll manifest. And if you give to charity, you will harm your spirits. Charity means, I'm going to let it off the hook. That's not good. No, you got to go after it. So here you go. You find your issues, you look at them. Turning away from them keeps them in place, keeps them strong. And they additionally, because of the way they exist, they act out in that unified field, getting triggered and creating more situations that helps that grow bigger and bigger and bigger. We have to recognize that and see that. And in order to stop that life flow, you have to stop the origin point. And before we move on, let me say that we're observing also a sequence in verses. They don't look that way on the outside, but once you turn them in and start decoding what they are, we started out remember first page there, down at the end it said, you have to know yourself. And now it's starting into how to do that, how to heal. This is a sequence. This is a healing sequence in here that you can see. Might be nested in something magical, but this is what's inside. All right, I'm going to jump back to 6 because they had included some answers in there that were the wrong answers, but they do believe in this, that they belong in this place right here. Jesus said, "Do not lie and do not do what you hate, because all things are disclosed before heaven. There is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, and there is nothing covered that will remain undisclosed." Sometimes we have to dissect some of this from the verbiage, I think. What is this saying? Don't lie. Enjoy things, and everything that is hidden is going to be revealed. That's all that's being said in here. Do not lie. If you're lying to yourself when you're holding that stuff. I don't lie. It's not there. I'm lying. I'm not going to tell anybody. That's a lie. We are trapped. We're stuck. That's an indicator that we got a problem. But only we know that. Nobody else does. You see how this is personal material? All right. Because all things are disclosed before heaven. What is heaven? Heaven is everywhere, right? Everything emerges. Whatever we have is going to emerge. Do not lie. Do not do what you hate. Don't deny what's there. And at some point, you're going to enjoy doing this because you go, oh my God, this is going to change my life. Finally, those years of, God damn it. Waking up in your vomit or something like that. Those, you're lucky to wake up those days, huh? We're trying to change. We cannot deny that stuff. We want to because it seems shameful, huh? It's easier if somebody else says, yeah, we all do that. I do too. I have. There's nothing hidden. Whatever we have inside of us is going to come out. Observe. Just, watch yourself. You see what's emerging here. 7, Jesus said, "Blessed is the lion that the human will eat, so that the lion becomes human, and cursed is the human that the lion will eat, and the lion will become human." The lion is a bad thing. The human is a good thing. These are parts of our characteristic. If you have a bad part of you, it's a lion. It acts out. If you can eat it, it's blessed. If it eats you, you're screwed. We already know that. We're trying to undo that part. We want to consume the lion and not let the lion consume us. We want to resolve our issues and not let our issues act out. This is a demon acting out, a weed growing in the garden. This is analogous to that same teaching. 8, and he said, "Humankind is like a wise fisherman who cast his net into the sea and drew it up from the sea full of little fish. Among them, the wise fisherman discovered a fine, large fish. He threw all the little fish back into the sea, and with no difficulty chose the large fish." If you are familiar with the works of Jesus, you will know that he often says things that are about becoming one or unifying, making the two into one. The solitary will enter the narrow gate. These teachings are alluding to our psyche. You take the net, you throw it out into your life, your past, your whatever. What do you have up here in your ocean, in your garden, in your land, in your kingdom? However you want to call it with an analog. This is your space up here. You throw this out, you pull it in. The idea that to enter the kingdom of heaven within, you do so as a child. The child presumably hasn't become divided yet. That if you make the two into one and say to this mountain, move, it will move. Your accomplishments and your capacity to function in life will improve if you take that division of who you want people to see and who you don't want people to see and make sure that those two separate entities no longer exist. That everything is open, that you're going to find that this teaching is this way. How many things can you do to the psyche? We're going to hear in a lot of different ways these same teachings at this level. Jesus said, "Look, the sower went out and took a handful of seeds and scattered them. Some fell on the road, and the birds came and pecked them up. Others fell on rock, and they did not take root in the soil and did not produce heads of grain. Others fell on thorns, and they choked the seeds, and worms devoured them. And others fell on good soil, and it brought forth a good crop. It yielded 60 per measure and 120 per measure." This verse is an incredible stroke of genius or an incredible stroke of luck. It works perfectly outside and inside without any problems. This is one of the rare ones that'll do this. If you were looking at this literally, it's like somebody coming along and saying, here are the answers. And there's going to be various kinds of ears that teaching falls upon. The seeds in this case are the seeds of experience, of a teaching, of something like that. Plants grow from seeds. Things grow from seeds. So that analog is for a point of origin for some kind of a memory, a knowledge point or an experience within the human psyche. A seed is that way. However, it works better when we turn it inward upon ourselves. As we're going through life, we are ourselves trying to do things that I'm sure at some point we're wanting to change our lives, but we're not succeeding. We're trying to do different things, but we're not quite ready to move on. This verse, there's a lot. It sounds like there's a lot in here, but there really isn't. That there is one thing in the end here, that others fell on good soil and it brought forth a good crop. The other ones were just saying, boy, if there isn't a healthy place where you're putting your new knowledge, it's not going to grow. Only where you have good soil, where you have prepared good soil, are you going to grow good crops. Yeah, that's it. That's going to appear in wine and jackets and other places as well. That same teaching right there about rebirth first, healing first. But it's also letting us know that as we're trying things in life before doing that it's not working. Yeah, we're not succeeding until we get to a certain point. 10, Jesus said, I have thrown fire upon the world, and look, I am watching until it blazes. I'm not sure what fire is here. You're Jesus. This is your consciousness. This point right here is, this one directly translates that way. You have thrown fire upon your world, and you're watching until it blazes. What does that mean? That you are either getting rid of the things that are there, and you're watching. I tell you that this networks. When you focus in on something, it continues to network. We know that anyway. It's not unique to this material. Whatever you practice at or focus on, you get better and better at. So I don't know how important this one is right here. But it plays out in the psyche. Jesus said, this heaven will pass and the one above it will pass away. The dead are not alive and the living will not die. During the days when you ate what is dead, you made it alive. When you are in the light, what will you do? On the day when you were one, you became two. But when you become two, what will you do? Okay, you know what? This is a chunk of wholesome goodness right here. Let's have some fun. First of all, this heaven will pass and the one above it will pass away. Heaven is, in Jesus' term, is really a state of mind, your state of existence, your state of being. It's not just here locally, but it's the way you experience it. So heaven more directly is your mental experience in life, your physical, your emotional, your spiritual, all those, however you want to term your experience with life. That's your heaven. This one will pass away and the one above it will pass away. Remember, we're doing this inside and it's in the mind. This is very unusual. I have not seen it elsewhere. People always use cycles in their material. Wheels, trees, something growing up, coming back, or whatever. This is representing a cycle. This is saying that what life experience you're having right now will end and the next one will as well. Cycles are going to happen. The next part says the dead are not alive and the living will not die. This fits with cycles will happen. First of all, anything that is dead will not act out. Things that are alive will. During the days when you ate what is dead, you made it alive. This can sound very much like when you did something that you now have to pay the price for forever. You're the one that brought that to life, but that's not deep enough. It's actually not deep enough. Eating is a spiritual thing. It's up here. It's not just about what you did. It's about what happened. It is about what you stored away when you ate what is dead. You might have done something bad and you feel guilt and you put that away. You might have been brutalized and you feel hate. That's put away. You might have been molested repeatedly and you hate over that. That is eating what is dead. And the reason is because those things are going to become alive. They're going to, if they are alive, if they act out, if you can think about them and you feel, and they are emotionally difficult, they're alive. They're alive. We have to get to that level as we're trying to self-heal. We can't just get rid of the things that, a couple of things that maybe we did and let the rest of it go. There's Gospel of Philip. I'm not going to go find it. Jesus went in and cleaned out the whole place while others only did it partially. This is, you get to pick how much you clean out. And then when you are in the light, what will you do? Yeah, you're aware of it now. You can see it. What do you do? Well, on the day when you were one, you became two. But when you became two, or when you become two, what will you do? So we start out as one. We become two. We want to become one again. We want to get back to that. What will you do? Yeah, it's asking us, what are you going to do now? So cycles are going to happen based on what is inside of you, and it's based on you're being divided and you need to become one again. These verses work magically. This makes me excited almost to see this stuff. The disciples said to Jesus, "We know that you are going to leave us. Who will be our leader?" Jesus said to them, "No matter where you have come from, you are to go to James the Just, for whose sake heaven and earth came into being." All right, stick with me on this. We're going to get a little bit deeper. Remember I mentioned earlier about the Greeks using the 40 gods, that all the gods do different things. They have different qualities about them. And they represented qualities inside of the human, each human, our average qualities. And they made them kind of fun-loving. In this case, what we've got is the 12 disciples are actually 12 qualities. It's been narrowed down to 12 qualities identified in this teaching that the human psyche has. Okay, so this is a fun one here then, as we take a look at what all the meanings are to the parts. First of all, the disciples are talking to Jesus. The disciples are characteristics of us, all of the different things that are qualities that we have, including our doubting Thomas side is there as well, one of our components. They, through our lifetime, are our issues, our sense of justice, all of the things about us, our fairness, our balance, are off, and we're seeking to achieve that back. And Jesus is the one who actually made that happen to begin with. We are Jesus. We're the ones that have interacted with our qualities and characteristics that cause them to be issues. We have lived life unaware, and we have hurt our disciples, our characteristics, our qualities. That's going to come down to our entire body of pain, though. It's difficult to word this sometimes and put yourself in the driver's seat of it. That's a tough transition to make because, when we're in our victim status mode, we can't see this. We cannot see this. Jesus is going to leave them now. How do they heal? This is really a fun way of just teaching a story. All of this stuff is, well, let me get to the end and you'll see. Jesus said, no matter where you have come from, whatever you got inside of you, whatever the issue is, wherever you have come from, because nobody asked him about where you come from. What's he saying that for? Wherever you come from, you are to go to James the Just, for whose sake heaven and earth came into being. James, I look for as far as what James was, the name in that time, he was, what his qualities were. That's what I care about. He was a man of courage and forgiveness. This is a teaching that says when you find the things inside of you that need to be resolved, you handle them with courage because they're hard to deal with, and forgiveness. You have to forgive the issues that are inside of you in order to be okay. It's worded in a way that is it's really out there, but it's simply that. It's a simple thing. We're just looking for the effect it has on our psyche, on our healing. So decode these and follow the sequence. What did that last chunk there where the repetition happened? It said, you're in the light. What do you do now? This one tells you what to do now. You forgive. You go after what hurts and you find a way to forgive it. This is the healing. It seems like what emerges is pretty much an interactive step. 13. Jesus said to his disciples, compare me to something and tell me what I am like. Simon Peter said to him, you are like a just messenger. Matthew said to him, you are like a wise philosopher. Thomas said to him, Teacher, my mouth is utterly unable to say what you are like. Jesus said, I am not your teacher. Because you have drunk, you have become intoxicated from the bubbling spring that I have tended. And he took him and withdrew and spoke 3 sayings to him. When Thomas came back to his friends, they asked him, what did Jesus say to you? And Thomas said to them, if I tell you one of the things he spoke to me, you will pick up rocks and stone me, and fire will come out of the rocks and consume you. Okay, this is going to be the first one I'm going to tell you I don't get it all. I think I get some of it, but then it kind of falls apart. And let me talk on that just a little bit. I think that there are times where you try to work on this material that there might be errors. Things were written by scribes that could, just hand copy things, and we know from archaeological finds, and like with the Bible and whatnot, there's thousands of copies of older New Testament books prior to the one in the Bible that have variations in them, things that maybe were not written right. And I think that the thing is that this information is nested in here, and people that are scribes passing it along, if they don't know what is nested in there and they're trying to fix the verbiage because it sounds weird to them, they might write it right out of there. Or anyway, so there's a potential that not everything here works, and I'm not going to violate rules with it by trying to come up with something. Let's go with it though. In this case, Jesus asked his disciples, what is this? This is your conscious trying to identify. This is us trying to identify from our inner qualities. What are we? And Simon Peter, who was like the leader of pretty much the spokesman, and he was kind of a hothead, right? The guy that would stand up very quickly and say, no, that's the quality in us that we have. I think that where you're very easygoing and nothing really bothers you until somebody all of a sudden violates your value system. And then walls go up that make people go, oh my God, where did that come from? We have a very solid, this is okay, that's not okay. And if it's a little bit not okay, it is not okay. We're like that. I think there's a part of us that's Simon Peter, and we're saying he's a just messenger. That part of us is telling, that he's bringing the truth. Matthew says to him, you are like a wise philosopher. This is philosophy. I don't know. I kind of look at this and go, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Just messenger, wise philosopher. This is looking for truth, and it's in philosophy. And then it goes on to say, teacher, my mouth is utterly unable to say what you are like. So Thomas, wasn't he the twin that wrote this to begin with? It's starting to look a little goofy to me. I don't see, so Thomas can't say what it is. Jesus, I am not your teacher. I get that part. In this material, there is no teacher. There is no leader. You have to figure this out and process it in your own brain. Because you have drunk, you have become intoxicated from the bubbling spring that I have tended. Now the analogs go someplace very strange that I can't fit in the psyche. I don't know where they go. And he withdrew them in the three sayings. And I've worked on this before and we've kicked things around. But at the end of the day, all I would do is say, maybe this, maybe that. When you get to the end, it says, if I tell you one of the things he spoke to me, you will pick up rocks and stone me, and fire will come out of the rocks and consume you. So it sounds like Thomas, Matthew, and Simon Peter would all be killed if I don't know. It's kind of weird. I look at this, and this is exactly if you were to try to find what is nested in the Book of Mormon, this is what you come up with. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. There might still be something here, and I haven't figured out the analogs, but I don't see a pattern in here that, I don't know. It's in the section where we're healing, though. I'm going to leave it at that and just say, sometimes they're kind of weird. This one sounds, even if I decode this one, it sounds goofy and cryptic. I don't know if it matters too much. If I go on to 15, Jesus said, when you see the one who was not born of woman, fall on your faces. That is your father. So that's very bizarre. It all plays out inside. There's a hierarchy in the psyche. There's a conscious and a subconscious. And then there's that unified field. So when we're looking at analogs, if we have something like a husband and a wife, that's going to be conscious and subconscious. Father, son, conscious, subconscious. King, court, conscious, subconscious. There's that hierarchy is always going to be maintained there. So as we look at this, if the woman, what is born of woman is the psyche. That is what holds who and what we are. All of our good, all of our bad, everything is held there. The conscious is what decides the value of that as you're experiencing life. The conscious is your father. What all this sounds like it's saying to me then, when you see one who is not born of woman, when you find anything inside of you that isn't a part of your subconscious, then that's your consciousness. Maybe this is teaching people back at their time something like that we take it for granted, where they were trying to let them know, hey, there's a couple of parts to you. We look at it and go, what? How strange is that? when we might just be going, yeah, we got that. We got a conscious and a subconscious. Yeah, I think that's what they're saying. Obey the Father. Respond to the conscious, not the offspring. Anyway, okay. 16, Jesus said, "Perhaps people think I have come to impose peace upon the world. They do not know that I have come to impose conflicts upon the earth, fire, sword, and war. For there will be 5 in a house. There will be 3 against 2 and 2 against 3, father against son and son against father, and they will stand alone." Okay, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to speed this up just by reading the verses and kind of starting to nutshell it a bit more. I think everybody's on board with what I'm doing here. I will go through the whole book, though. What I have here is sometimes too much detail. I don't. There may be more into it. There is 5 in a house. There will be 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. There's probably some details there that can be dialed in that was specific. I don't know what those are, and I don't know that I care. This is why what we know we're getting at is that people think Jesus came to save the world. And Jesus is saying, no, you don't get it. Jesus isn't really there. This teaching is saying, actually, I have come up here to impose. You're going back to take your land back. Your fire, sword, and war is happening up in your head. You're going to destroy the things that are hurting you. The Father and the Son that are against each other. All of those things. I don't know what all of those details are, but I do know that I would prefer to say everything instead of what are those 5 qualities. Just say heal everything that's there. It'll emerge. It'll come out. If it's something that you need to work on, it will hurt your life. You'll see it if you want to. Jesus said, "I shall give you what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no hand has touched, what has not arisen in the human heart." No eye has seen and no ear has heard. So this is something in your head. Yeah, Jesus is giving you something that isn't in the physical world. No hand is touched, and it has not arisen in the human heart. This is mental. 18, the disciples said to Jesus, "Tell us how our end will be." Jesus said, "Have you discovered the beginning then, so that you are seeking the end? For where the beginning is, the end will be. Blessed is one who stands at the beginning. That one will know the end and will not taste death." This one took a while for me to really get. It's fun. How will the disciples? These are qualities inside of you. They want to know what their end is. In this case, I don't know that the disciples are good qualities. There's just a question being posed. Have you discovered the beginning then, that you know that what the end will be? When you're working on your psyche, the beginning of the end, if you're looking for healing, means going to the source of the pain. If you were hurt in some way, there's a point where you have to forgive that origin, because from there, the energy from that allows things to network and grow from it. If you want everything else to end, if you want to have the end of all of this stuff, you have to understand the beginning of it. And once you find the beginning, you will know what the end is, because you will say, okay, I realize I was in that mass of people evolving in there and I didn't fit. I've got out. But in the meantime, I got treated like people do in that mass of people. And not everybody gets treated bad. Some gets treated good, but we're trying to emerge out of that. That is, I think, the way I didn't have to go there. That's how we're trying to reason out why we let stuff go, because it's not our fault. And even though we want to blame somebody else, we're products of humanity. And we need to understand that our individual selves are products of humanity. We have to be both. If you have a really bad hurt that you don't want to deal with, but you keep dealing with other stuff and things keep happening, that big hurt has to go away. There's another teaching that Jesus has about removing the the cornerstone of the temple or something like that, tearing it. This is inside as well. If you want to tear this temple down because it's your old temple and you want to rebuild a new temple in 3 days, if you want to use that number 3. If you want to rebuild the new temple, you have to go to the cornerstone to take it out. This is another way of telling us that when we want to heal, we have to go back to the point of where you were first hurt. Go all the way back to the origin. That's going to probably be that'll open up the waterworks. Yeah, it will. All right, I can see my video is not going as fast as I thought I was going to go along here, but I'm already an hour into it. I'm going to do a few more verses, and I'll have to bring this one to an end. 19. Jesus said, "Blessed is the one who came into being before coming into being. If you become my disciples and listen to my sayings, these stones will serve you. For there are 5 trees in paradise for you. They do not change, summer or winter, and their leaves do not fall. Whoever knows them will not taste death." There's the 5 again. I'm not going to go after it. I don't think there's anything. So I need help. I do. I'm serious. There's more. There's so much to this. I feel like a little kid looking at the universe. I don't know. Blessed is the one who came into being before coming into being. Sounds like you want to become yourself again, or your new self. I'm going to let that one go because I don't think it has anything different in there, but the 5 trees in paradise, they do not change, summer or winter, leaves do not fall. Whoever knows them will not taste death. I think that we're looking for not tasting death is to have all of our issues resolved, and that there's somehow that these are going to be analogs for a different kind of they're going to be different analogs that I haven't unpacked. I don't know what those are. They're not common enough for me to really to get my attention. There's bigger things out there. The disciples said to Jesus, "Tell us what heaven's kingdom is like." He said to them, "It is like a mustard seed. It is the smallest of all seeds, but when it falls on prepared soil, it produces a large plant and becomes a shelter for birds of the heaven." So as we go through this process and the growth, we got a couple things going on here. The mustard seed is a very tiny thing. There's not much to it, but mustard gets very big. It spreads out. Wild mustard, kind of invasive. It gets into everything. What we have here, I see an image of a little tiny seed that starts out on earth that grows up as it's learning this stuff, and it becomes so big and so monstrous if we take this path that we actually are providing shelter to an elevated position. It's like a hell, heaven, a lower, upper, that kind of thing is happening. Oh, yay, fun. It's not a healing step. This will, if you get into this, it'll grow and grow and grow. I've observed that in my own. I've really focused in on this, and it continues to, new understandings continue to emerge. Mary said to Jesus, "What are your disciples like?" He said they are like children living in a field that is not theirs. When the owners of the field come, they will say, "Give our field back to us." They take off their clothes in front of them in order to give it back to them, and they return their field back to them. Okay, in this case, we have the reference of the field. The field is up here. It belongs to somebody else. This is always a common theme. In fact, if you know the Bhagavad Gita, Hinduism is very old, very, very old, and much older than this material here. The very first chapter where Arjuna has to go back and get his field back from family members that are not cooperating and letting him have it back. And it's called The War Within. And these same style of stories seem to be blatantly present in a lot of places. Jesus has other in the New Testament where you have to go back and get land back or fields back or vineyard back, something like that. They're all analogous to this same process. We're going to be going after field. We've lost property. We want to go get it back. This is a way of saying we're going to go after our mind. And the children of the field are the concepts in our psyche, are the things that we hold. And what we clothe ourselves with in the spiritual world are the things that we hide over our hurt, our pain, our shame. The reason You wouldn't strip naked in the physical world and stand in a field and do this because you're standing bare. In the spiritual world, if you've covered something up, it's because you're hiding something. Spiritual nakedness is desired. That means I have nothing to hide. I got, nothing's there. I've stripped it off. I get possession back of my field because I've been able to strip off all of the pain that I hide behind. Yeah, my land is mine again. My mind is mine again. My life is mine again. Or if you're like me, you get your land maybe for the first time ever in your life. I never had it. I never had it my whole life until, I don't know if I still do. Okay, moving on to the net. There's another part of that now. For this reason I say, if the owner of a house knows that a thief is coming, he will be on guard before the thief arrives and will not let the thief break into the house of his estate and steal his possessions. Okay, I alluded to something earlier that is exactly this, that you have to heal. If everything is fine, you're living life and there's no issue. It's kind of hard to heal unless you've got something you can focus on, something you know you need to resolve. There's a point where you may not know you need to resolve something, but you realize something is still there because it acts out. Things are happening once in a while and you go, God, why do I do that? How come I can't fix that? That is the thief that's coming. That is what's going to emerge. And that is what you need to be prepared for. That is what you need to realize. Okay, yeah, that's going to happen. It's going to come. I'm going to arm myself so when it surfaces, I could pay attention to it and watch it. I'm going to understand it by following it inside. But then how does it end that chunk right there? These things, they go together, even though they don't sound like it. When the crop ripened, the person came quickly with sickle in hand and harvested it. Whoever has ears to hear should hear. So when you see that emerge, when the crop comes up, when the burst happens, you're prepared. You're like, okay, here it is. I got triggered. What happened? Where's that coming from? What do I do? Be prepared. And yeah, this is holding our hand. I'm going to end this video just because length of time. And hope you enjoyed it. I hope I explained myself well enough as far as my ideas of the Gospel of Thomas and Gnosticism and what that separation is. It's a lot bigger than that. It really is. In my current state of comprehension in I don't know, the mental realm where I am, I guess, being a Gnostic is like being a Hindu or being a Taoist or being a Buddhist or being a Jew or being a Muslim. They all hold this and they're all on the outside of it. And anybody that turns inside, suddenly we're not different anymore. Wow. I had no idea. It's kind of scary to look at sometimes. Okay, well, I'm going to end this video. And it's actually not scary. It's exciting. It's scary to say it. I don't want to offend everybody on the planet. Love one another. I'll see you in the next video.